Experts advise government to create the enabling environment to accommodate Ghanaians abroad in the event they are attracted to return home. Minister for Foreign Affairs Ayoko Boche has been explaining government's intention to put together a policy to attract Ghanaians living abroad to return home and contribute to development of the nation.
Of the backdrop of the policy that we are developing, and also the fact that His Excellency the President has put somebody in his office at the presidency who will be dealing with people in the diaspora to encourage them to.
But experts say it could be a wrong approach for now if adequate measures are not put in place to ensure that such people are comfortable in the event they are enticed to come home. So how does government intend to drive this wheel of doing all within its means to attract Ghanaians abroad to come back home? We'll be hearing from the Minister for Foreign Affairs and also tap into some big brains on international affairs and governance. Also, the Interior Minister and his team are currently in Bimbilla to assess the situation. We'll be bringing you an update on his visit. This is today's big story. My name is Aisha Ibrahim. Let's now cross over to Bimbilla, where 10 people died from the clashes that happened few days ago. The Minister for the Interior is currently in that constituency, and our man Idris Adams joins us with some update. Good evening to you. Many thanks for your time on today's big story. What has the Minister for the Interior what has he been saying, and where has he been going?
Okay, so the Minister of Interior, Mr. Ambosere, pay a courtesy call on the people of Bimbilla to, on behalf of the President, to send to Valentine's Day with love on the people of Manon. And also his condolence from the President to the lost family, the great family. And he also pledges his commitment to ensure that there's peace and security in the land, that is Manon to be precise. We also expect the citizens to also abide by law and order in order to maintain peace and security in the area.
So yesterday we heard that the curfew in that town has been reviewed. What is the situation now?
It hasn't been completed yet, but the curfew was relaxed because the timing, looking at the time of the arrival of the ministers and the walk around or the visit that we paid, it was nearly gotten to the curfew hour, so the curfew was relaxed a little bit. Even though there was curfew in town, but people could have even do their not, although businesses were not open, but I think it was somehow relaxed.
Well, Adams, we know that the minister has been in a DISEC meeting. What was the outcome? Have you picked any information as to what ensued in that meeting?
Not yet. We are still on the process to get much information about what we have transpired in the DISEC meeting. As and when we get it, we will get it before.
Are people responding to the visit by the Interior Minister?
Yes, they were very happy to see the Interior Minister and authorities, include the Defense Minister, who happens to be double as the Member of Parliament for Bimbilla constituency, and also the Gender Minister, together with the Northern Regional Minister designate, Honorable Said. So they were very happy to receive them.
All right. Many thanks to you, Adams. Idris is our man on the ground. We'll be bringing you updates on this in our subsequent bulletin, plus some visuals from Bimbilla on the visit by the Interior Minister. I'll take a break. When we come back, there is more on today's big story. Foreign Affairs Minister Shirley Ayoko-Botchwey has dismissed as untrue reports that she has okayed the deportation of Ghanaians abroad without documentation. She explains government is rather working itself out to outdoor a policy that will attract Ghanaians living abroad to return home and contribute to the development of the nation. The foreign minister is also advising Ghanaians who migrate to other countries to register with Ghana's High Commission so they can receive help when needed. We can listen to the minister in an exclusive interview with Joy News.
I never ever said that undocumented Ghanaians should be brought back, whether they are in America or Germany. Nothing. When you read the transcript or listen to the audio, nothing of the sort was said. It was just a reaction from questions that had been asked. And I said that this is not a bad place. So please come back, rather than you go and be killed in countries where you're being maltreated, treated in all kinds of ways, unacceptable ways. Come back and let's build the country. That was all I said. The ministry can never, ever, we can never try to reach some agreement with any country to bring back undocumented nationals. Let me also say that our nationals outside the country, their remittances help build this country. And therefore, there is no way that we are going to say over 2 billion to 3 billion annually. That is what we derive from remittances. So why would we do any such thing? In any case, we don't even know who they are and where they are. All I was saying, because of the backdrop of the policy that we are developing, and also the fact that His Excellency the President has put somebody in his office at the presidency who will be dealing with people in the diaspora to encourage them to come and invest in this country. That was the reason and the backdrop to which I made this statement. And I'm amazed that this has been misconstrued, misinterpreted, and all kinds of things are happening as a result of my appearance at the vetting committee.
Do you know who's...
All right, so that was Foreign Affairs Minister Shirley Ayoko-Botchwey assuring Ghanaians that she has not made any order or she's not condoning with any foreign country to deport Ghanaians abroad. On the phone line to join this conversation is Dr. Idris Zeblim, who is MP for Gushego. Good evening to you. Many thanks for your time on today's big story, Doc.
Good evening, Aisha.
Doc,
Thank
first,
you for having me.
Let me pick your thought on Ghanaians who travel abroad illegally. I mean, those who do not have documents and they have to go through all sort of maltreatment just for survival. And the concern is that they can't also return home because home is equally bad.
Well, thank you so much for having me. And let me just go back to the background, because then I think we are asking this question today because of the unfortunate propaganda that is out there following the vetting of the Honorable Ayoko-Botchwey. I have listened to the account version of the tape that has gone viral, and it's very unfortunate. I listened throughout her vetting and the things that she responded to the committee members. Nowhere did she alluded either directly or indirectly to the issue of giving orders for Ghanaians abroad to be deported back home. In any case, we live in a global village. It's not about Ghana or Netherlands or Holland or the UK or whatever. It's a global village. So it doesn't matter where any Ghanaian found himself or herself, they can still contribute towards the development project that the NPP has embarked on. And so I don't think the NPP or any government will be in their right place to go out of their way and ask a foreign government or a foreign country to support its citizens. Ghanaians traveled outside of Ghana for several reasons. Mainly, I will say, for economic reasons.
Right.
And so if for economic reasons they find themselves in a foreign land and they happen to be illegal aliens in that foreign land, they know how they survive. They have ways of getting around some of these immigration laws of these countries, and they are able to survive. But they don't only just survive in those countries. They contribute immensely to the economic development of this country. The last time I checked, I think remittances coming from Ghanaians living abroad, whether they are there legally or illegally, forms about second or third in terms of our revenue generation in this country. So it's a huge injection into our income here. And I don't think any foreign minister will go out of her way or his way to make such a statement. And so for Ghanaians who are outside and they are illegal, it's not for any government of Ghana to say because they are there illegally deport them. They know how, and some of them may be illegal, and tomorrow they will find their way through the immigration process to become legalized. There are several ways that countries legalize, people who are there undocumented. So I think it's unfortunate, and I will, say unequivocally that it is not the policy of this MPP government. It will never be the policy of the MPP government because we understand that economic diplomacy is the way forward in the 21st century. And for us to pursue economic diplomacy, we also have to pursue people-to-people diplomacy. And so Ghanaians outside are worthy ambassadors of this country. And whether they are there legally or illegally, that is not our business. It's for them to carry themselves well, and people will then want to come to Ghana and invest.
Doc,
And
the idea to work on a policy to attract Ghanaians living abroad to come home and contribute to development, it sounds very refreshing. But how do we drive this cause? It doesn't look very smooth a path, especially with the economic situation the country finds itself now.
Well, so it depends on whatever level that you are looking at. I understand and I know when I was living abroad that efforts were made by the previous MPP government under the Kufuor administration to get Ghanaians who are, one, investors and they want to come on invest, two, technocrats, they want to come home and lend their expertise to the development projects of this country. So if you are thinking on that level, that can be a positive policy to attract Ghanaians to come home. I was one person who returned home because of the good policies that the Kufuor administration had, attracting people like us to come home. So we came home. But on another level, there are Ghanaians who are out there doing their own things and they don't want to be bothered. And so I don't think any government will mix up the two things and just put all of them in one blanket and say everybody should come home. When you are targeting a certain category of Ghanaians based on expertise, based on business capital that they can bring home for us to benefit from. You target them, and I think this government will do just as the Kufuor administration did. But for the millions of Ghanaians, or millions of them who are out there doing their own thing, whether they are there documented or undocumented, who are still contributing to the economic growth of this country through remittances, I think the government will rather encourage, and that is why we have embassies. When you say the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, you have two departments. You have the headquarters in Accra, and you have the missions abroad. And so all these missions abroad under the Ministry of Foreign Affairs are to get in touch with Ghanaians and make life easier for them to live wherever they find themselves.
But in most cases, that's not what we see. We've heard of stories in Saudi Arabia, in Kuwait, where Ghanaians are maltreated terribly. That's not the situation. Shouldn't it be the responsibility of these missions you're talking about to protect Ghanaians abroad?
Yeah, so those are isolated cases that you have mentioned, and they are unfortunate cases, and I must admit. But the fact still remains that embassies and missions abroad are mandated to ensure that they look out to the well-being and welfare of Ghanaians living in the countries that they found themselves. And so I know that the embassy in Saudi Arabia is working assiduously to take inventory, or if that, I don't know if that's the right word, but to at least know census of Ghanaians living in the Gulf region, not just in Saudi Arabia, but also in the UAE, Kuwait, Qatar, and all these countries. It has been a very troubling case. As you see, it's an international, if you like, gang that engage in human trafficking, and if you like, later day slavery of people from deprived and undeveloped and poor countries like Ghana. So Ghana is not the only victim of this. But I'm saying as Ghanaians, yes, we are concerned about our citizens, and I know our embassy in Saudi Arabia, and I know that, the Honorable Ayoko Bote is going to work very hard to, there are private individual NGOs who are also concerned. So we can work with them, work with the embassy and the authorities in Saudi Arabia to streamline how we get people out of this country into those countries.
But
Even
Doc,
in that situation, you can force them.
Doc, what do you say to those who feel that it may be a good idea to have a policy that will entice people living abroad to come home like you did yourself? But for now, the enabling environment is not there to accommodate such people in the event that they all find this foreign policy we're talking about attractive and decide to come home. The question many ask, do we have what it takes to accommodate them? So
that's why you start by creating an enabling environment. I didn't just come home, and I know a lot of my colleagues who came home around the time. We didn't come home because there was a policy on paper. We came home because we visited Ghana several times, and we saw that the economy had turned around, and that if I came home and I was employed in the university, I could survive. and so there are several people like myself who came home, not because there was just a policy on paper, but there was tremendous economic turnaround during the 8 years, and things had gone so much so that if you came home, you could survive in this economy. That is where we have to do. It's not just coming out with a policy. If you change things around, nobody wants to be living in somebody's land to begin with. And in most cases, most of these places are so cold that the weather is not even, friendly. So people want to come home. But if the economic fundamentals, if the economic situation is not attractive enough for them to feel that if they come home, they can survive, they would rather stay there and raise their families.
So what's your expectation of this policy? I mean, what should be contained in this policy to make it work effectively? I mean, that attractive that we're talking about.
The MPP, you can always trust the MPP government to deliver when it comes to the economy. And so it all starts with changing and turning things around. If we are able to get the economic fundamentals right, then the foreign policy that will attract Ghanaians living abroad to come home will then be hinged on it. So if I were a Ghanaian living in the U.S. or in Canada or any other country for that matter, and I want to come home and invest, I will be guaranteed that the government has put in place the enabling environment, both in terms of the economy, the infrastructure, both in terms of the time it will take for me to register a company and clear my goods at the port, all these things that the government has already started doing. So I will say, give the MPP a year or two, and you will find that the economic fundamentals will be so much so that the foreign ministry can come up with a deliberate policy to go out and attract Ghanaians who voluntarily, on their own will, want to come home and invest, but not go out of its way and force foreign governments to deport Ghanaians. That is not a policy that any government, and for that matter, the NPP government, will want to embark on. And it is unfortunate that I will excuse me to use the word evil, because if you listen to the words that they use about that woman, she is a good woman, a fine woman. She comes to this job with experience. She understands economic diplomacy. She understands foreign policy. She understands that you don't come into that office and try to play with foreign governments the way that tape, purported and attributed to her. And I think that Ghanaians should spare her, all the bad things. That tape, if there's a way we can stop it, because it's going viral and it's unfortunate.
It's
if you listen to the sort of things that they are talking about, that fine woman, she's a mother. She's a very responsible citizen of this country, and she comes to that office with a lot of experience in economic, diplomacy and international relations, that she will not make that mistake. And so just for once, I will say, having lived outside for a long time myself, it was on my own accord that I decided to come home.
So, of course, so this policy will not force anybody. The policy is not supposed to force anybody, but attract people who are willing to come back home to settle down
the policy
and contribute to the development of the
enabling economic environment that will attract investors, including Ghanaians living abroad.
All right. Many thanks to you, Dr.
Idi Ziblim.
Dr. Ziblim Idi is MP for Gushegu. We appreciate your time on today's big story. We can also listen once more to the Minister for Foreign Affairs on how this policy is going to work.
We tell Ghanaians every time that as soon as you leave the shores of Ghana and you get to a foreign land, please go to the embassy, go to the High Commission. Let us know that you are there, so that if there is any problem, we can extend help to you. But most of them go and then they disappear. We don't get to hear anything or see them or any such thing unless there's a problem. So I would use your medium to appeal to them that wherever you go, please, it's not about registering. If you register, nothing will happen. It's just that we know what is happening, where you are, and that you are safe.
But would it not be difficult for the illegal migrant who believes that I'm undocumented? Indeed, the very cases you are talking about, the people who take them there sometimes take their passports.
Yes.
They actually keep them in places that they keep them away from the people.
Yes.
Would it not be state-level engagement between these two states that can fix this problem rather than the individuals being brought in?
I think there should be some engagement with the states. But then let's also not forget that sometimes the states are not even aware of the activities of these illegal employment agencies. So, you see, there's some disconnect. And I think that we need to look at how best to protect our nationals. And it's one of the things that I would want to do, to look at how best. But it is not about bringing them back. It is about ensuring that wherever they are, their interest is protected, that nobody maltreats or mistreats or does anything to them that will harm their person or whatever, to ensure that they are safe wherever they are. That is all. That is the mandate, one of the mandates of this ministry.
I get it, but it's also common international law that states can admit and deport people they feel who are not their nationals, who they feel are not playing any role in their country, and who they feel are not properly documented. We can't stop that, can we?
No, we can't stop that. We cannot stop that. It becomes difficult for us to interfere in the affairs of a state. And you know, the interesting thing, let me say this, there are times when a Ghanaian is arrested for being in a country illegally. The consular officers go to that person, to the aid of the person, and then he or she will say, I'm not a Ghanaian. It happens all the time. I'm not a Ghanaian, so don't extend. Obviously, because the person feels that if he or she admits that he or she is a Ghanaian.
All right, so that was the Foreign Affairs Minister, Shirley Ayoko Boche, explaining some of the things her ministry will be doing to protect Ghanaians abroad. On the other phone line is David Agbe, who is a governance analyst. Good evening to you. Many thanks for your time on today's big story.
Yes, good evening, Aisha.
David, do you think that for now, putting together a policy to attract Ghanaians to come back home may not be the best of ideas? Exactly what is your point?
Yes, Aisha, I must say that we need to appreciate the fact that the international system is not all that peaceful as it is. And so once upon a time, you realize that there will be a misunderstanding within the international system. And so we need to find a way of, making a policy to seek for a protection of our foreign nationals. That's supposed to be the way as it is now. I do know very well that the foreign minister, Honorable Ayoko Boche, during her vetting, she, proposed some kind of ideas, and which I think is good enough. But looking at what has come onto the fore now that people are discussing about it, I think that the way forward now is to ensure that we seek, protections of our foreign nationals wherever that they are. We should, as part of the matter, with regards to our foreign policy, Ghanaian foreign policy, we do believe in a peaceful coexistence among, nations. And so when we are looking at our foreign policy, we should be able to find a way of negotiating with other countries and other nationals such that they will be more accommodating, such that they will be able to understand the fact that, yes, if our nationals have traveled to their country, they are not enemies. They want to help. And we also need to ensure that wherever that our nationals are, let's try as much as possible to go through the system of dialoguing with those countries, making sure that we negotiate probably with them so that they can understand the fact that, yes, we have different political cultures, different legal systems, and different migration policies here and there. And so as we speak now, sending our people, back or telling our people to come back to our country, I could say home sweet home. But the fact is that when they come to Ghana, what are they coming to do? I listened to my very good friend that I do like him so much, and I wish that he's appointed as the Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs, Dr. Ziglim. He contributed a lot as far as foreign policy making of this country is concerned. And I must say that all the things that he enumerated are quite good enough. But to get those people coming back to our country and become a liability, letting those people coming into our country without finding a job for them, he has gone in there to seek knowledge. And so he deemed it fit of coming back to Ghana, which, he has taught at the University of Ghana. But what about other people who are not well endowed when it comes to knowledge, but they are there to seek for other, maybe knowledge or seek for economic prospects? And so we need to be able to look at it very well and be able to communicate creatively when we are talking about our foreign policy, so that we do not endanger the life of other nationals. Like you said, there are other countries across the globe, some of the Arab, countries. Our negotiation skills with them is not quite good, and so we need to go through the drawing board to be able to find a way of negotiating with them so that they do not endanger the life of our nationals in there. So we need to be able to look at it very well when it comes to our foreign policy.
All right. Many thanks to you, David Agbe. We really appreciate your time on today's Big Story. So we've been talking about first the Minister for the Interior in Bimbilla, who is assessing the situation. You can remember during the week we heard some clashes that killed 10 people in that region. The Minister for the Interior has been meeting with the 11 people, I'm told. The Minister for the Interior has been meeting the people there, the security forces, to make sure that they put things at rest and bring Bimbilla back to normalcy. The IGP is also there. We've also been talking about some foreign policy that the foreign minister intends to bring on to ensure that we attract people living abroad, Ghanaians living abroad, to come back home to contribute to the development of the nation. Many thanks for watching. My name is Aisha Ibrahim. Have a good evening.